all continents put together will fit into Africa.
Theory of criminal investigation. Follow the rich white man.
Follow the rich white man?
Exactly, now you're learning. Every big crime has a rich white man behind it waiting for his cut. Now in our case, we know who the rich white man is. Stephen Rain.
Who?
Stephen Rain, the hotel billionaire. I saw him on Ricky Tan's boat. When the shooting started, he was way too cool. And I'm gonna tell you something, when people start shooting, white people ain't that cool. They either running around, hiding behind tables, or screaming like, ah!
You sound like that all the time.
Let me tell you something about black people. When stuff goes down, we keep our cool.
Welcome to the continuing part of Roll Call, and we're on Roll Call part number 5. If you're watching part 5 right now, that means you have 4 parts ahead of you and some more that you need to watch before you can understand whatever we're saying here. So one of the things that we like doing is telling you the truth. The reason why this deception has been going on for so long is because the government through the years and centuries thought that if they could spread so much lies and deception, that it would be difficult for anybody to be able to understand the puzzle of how everything is going on in our world. But what they have failed to understand is that whatsoever they are doing, it's that the Creator gave them the ability to do so that his enemies, those who don't like him, can be destroyed and be taken by this deception. So that is what they haven't figured out. Because even though Satan has a lot of power and is running riot across the world, the power that he's running on comes from the Creator, and the Creator gave him the ability to do that so that he himself and all the enemies against the Creator as human beings, who are also children of Satan, can be destroyed. So the government have made this deception thick and fast because they never in their lifetimes could imagine that someone, that's not talking about us here, including us at all, we're just talking in a general sense, that someone could understand how all the puzzles fit together of this deception. They never imagined that. So they thought that no matter how hard someone would try, that it would be difficult to be able to understand it all. But they have forgotten one thing. And the one thing that they had forgotten is that the very tribe which they have been destroying since they came into power, they destroyed them, and even the own people whom the Creator used to speak to this tribe, they also were against them. So for so many centuries, the government didn't know, the government of this world didn't know that if they could take out the lineage of those tribes, that nobody would be able to figure out the truth. So over the centuries, they've been hunting and killing the lineage from the first man whom the Creator used to speak. But every time they slaughtered so many of them, the Creator always found a way to make sure there was 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 or 1,000 somewhere that could always tell the truth. So the government thought that it would be nearly impossible for anybody to be able to know or tell or be able to fit all the puzzles together. So they spread so many lies. So that's why in such a movie as Training Day, Denzel Washington would say such things like, it's not about what you know, but it's about what you can prove. So that was the motto. It's not about what you know, it's about what you can prove. So here we are proving it with facts, things that you can relate to every single day that you see around you. So every time we lift the lead and show you some truth and tell you some truth with facts, this witchcraft which the government has practiced upon the population through demons and satanism is lifted from your eyes as you keep on listening to the truth. But if you take it for granted, just like the Creator said, that there are those who hear the truth, but they do not understand it. And once they do not understand it, the Satan comes and takes away that little truth that they have away from them. And he gave different examples of the truth falling on different types of soil, some among thorns, and some among bulrushes, and some on good soil, and yielding forth much fruit. So the government has been deceived because they thought as long as we keep spreading the lies and deception, nobody will be able to figure it out. But they forgot one thing, even though they have worked tirelessly to kill a lineage and steal an identity of a people who were called the people of the Creator and given to other people who have no lineage, who are not the children of the Creator, who are not the people that He called by, to whom He would bless the world by through their great-grandfather who's been falsely called Abraham. They are still alive, and that's how we know what we know. So let's continue on.
Taking her to the I did step ain't been so Mr. Funkmaster. Yo be that's who made taking her to the I did step ain't been so Mr. Funkmaster. Yo be that's too many you know.
Wasn't always like this. But now, there are 3 rules to survive. Don't stand out. Accept the past. Trust no one. The galaxy's changed. Whatever you do, don't reach within. Don't stand out. Accept the past.
Execute Order 66.
Trust no one. Trust only in the Force.
We've passed on all we know. 1,000 generations live in you now. But this is your fight.
On December 20th, the saga will end.
Let the final battle begin.
They fly now! They fly now! Confronting fear. It's the destiny of a Jedi. Your destiny.
It's okay that we're here.
It's okay that you're here.
It's good. Does she do that to us?
This will be the final word in the story of Skywalker.
Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker.
So we're still on the part number 5 of roll call, and if you're watching part number 5 right here, you must have watched part number 1 to part number 4 and the recommended videos that we asked that you watch for you to understand what we're saying. So to continue on, we want to talk to you guys about something very, very important, and we always try to give you the best information whatsoever so you can fully understand your world and what's going on. To watch this particular section of roll call part number 5 here, you have to watch a video that's called The Heart, the Blood, and the Train Broadcasting Network. It's actually on Tricks of the S Trade 2, because whatsoever we're saying on this particular section of this particular roll call part number 5 has to do with that particular video. We'll put up a link on the screen for you, or the name of the video per se, so you can go watch it on Tricks of the S Trade 2. So what we're talking about right here concerns your health. And a lot of people have what they call maybe high blood pressure. And on the video called The Heart, the Blood, and the Train Broadcasting Network, we did explain the fact that blood pressure does not exist. If you're having problems with your blood pressure, because blood pressure does not exist at all, if you get lightheaded or any sort of thing that goes on, I want you to understand the reasons for people suffering from all of that. First of all, number one, salt. The medical system advises people to eat less salt. Now, salt is the most important thing that anybody should consume in their lives. Why is that the case? Because your blood keeps you alive, keeps the body alive. Your soul keeps your body alive, but your blood keeps the body alive. I hope you guys understand that. So your soul is connected to your body. So whatever you're eating for the body, but the soul makes sure that your body is working optimally, the real you, which you do not see. If you want to understand what the real you looks like and what it's all about, then you know the route to follow to get to that truth. But we don't have time to explain that on this particular DVD because a lot of people are not interested in truth. So what's the need explaining certain concepts and basics of life for you to understand if you are not interested in the truth, if everything else is more important than you getting the truth? So we are not in that business, all right? If you want the truth, you know the route to get it. So your soul keeps your body alive, and your blood keeps your body. So the way it works is this. If you don't have enough elements in your blood to keep your body alive, no matter what your soul is trying to do to either heal your body and make it function right, you're going to die regardless. And once you depart out of this body, you become a fully spiritual being. You are no longer able to receive forgiveness. The only destination you're going is to either hell, or you're going to be sleeping and waiting for the Creator to come back and give you a new body, because your body is a clothing for your soul. Once you unclothe, you're out of here and you're done. There's no longer forgiveness. So all that bragging that you were doing and all the wickedness that you were doing, you're going to hell in the lake of fire, which is right behind you. So salt is the most important thing that a person has to consume in life, because salt is an electrolyte. So your blood is likened to the constituent of a car battery. A car battery contains electrolytes. Electrolytes are used to produce electricity, to move energy around in a car. Same thing happens with your blood. Your blood needs salt. The salt is the electrolyte to move energy, nutrients that feed your body, your bones, and everything. Otherwise, your body is going to rot away. The salt contains a charge. The salt, sodium, all right, contains a positive charge. When you take other salts that come from sugar, because we get a lot of negative charges from sugar. So when you drink your Coke, your Fanta, you eat your food like carbohydrates, your protein, and you take stuff like, vegetables, and you eat fruits and any other food that you eat, it contains all the negative charge. But the sodium is the only salt that has the positive charge in your body. So when that positive charge and the negative charge from all the other salts that you eat that comes from food combine, they produce electricity. Electricity is used to drive the impulses in your body, is used to move the food that you eat, the nutrients that you eat around your body. So that's why when someone is about to die, what do they give him to sustain his life? They put an electric shock into the heart. The electric shock reverses the blood flow and gets the heart pumping so that you can live, because the body works by electricity. So if you do not have enough sodium, so for example, in a car battery, when a car battery is new, it doesn't require a lot of salt to do its functions. It doesn't require a lot of electrolytes because it's new. So the discharge and the production of electricity is optimal. When the car battery starts getting older, what happens? You have to put more salt, more electrolyte into that car battery for it to continue to produce more electricity for the car to function in. It is the same thing that goes on with human beings. When you're younger, you require less salt. When you get older, you need more salt so that the salt is readily available to your body. There's nothing like consuming too much salt, because if you consume too much salt, you naturally will drink a lot of water and then you will remove the excess salt. But there's nothing like too much salt. So, a lot of the medical diseases that we go through are all caused by some things that have nothing to do with your blood pressure, because blood pressure does not exist. So if you get into a hospital and they tell you have blood pressure, all right? So the things they're going to tell you is that you're weak and you have headaches. Is because your blood pressure is either high or low. That is obviously a wrong medical diagnosis. What happens is that people are born with genetic abnormalities in their hearts. That genetic abnormality is either caused by the poisons that you're eating that's making your heart not to function right. Okay? Blood pressure does not exist. You only have a blood pressure when they put something around your arm, okay, and constrict the blood vessels in your arms. That's when it develops a blood pressure. And all of us cannot have the same blood pressure, because it's like there's a standard in society that says everybody must have this blood pressure. If you do not have this blood pressure, if it's higher above this standard, it means you have high blood pressure. If it's lower below this standard, it means you have low blood pressure. It does not exist. We are all different human beings. We have different body weight. We have different bone structures. So the blood pressure cannot be the same. But the medical society wants you to believe that there's such a thing as a standard blood pressure. Anything higher or above means that you have either lower blood pressure or high blood pressure. It does not exist. You only get the blood pressure when that stuff is tied around your arm and constricted. Then you have high blood pressure. The question you now have to ask is this, because a lot of people will go about arguing because they are full of demonic thoughts that have been infiltrated into their mind by this wicked medical system. How did your great-grandparents survive 400 or 500 years ago when there were no hospitals and nobody was going around checking their blood pressure? How did they survive? How did they live longer? How were they stronger? How were they more intelligent than you dumb person right now listening who now believe that there is such a thing as blood pressure? Answer that question for yourself. Then you can start arguing foolishly. In the meantime, you listen. So here's what it is. You might have a sickness It has nothing to do with blood pressure. I want you to listen to that. And every sickness that you have is a problem of food, a problem of nutrition. You're either getting too much poisons because you're not cooking your own food, you're not growing your own food, or you have genetic abnormalities in your system which was caused by the poisons that you have induced into your body. Either when your mom was carrying you as a child, or either when after you were born, you started imbibing those poisons. There is no such thing as blood pressure. I want you to listen to that. When you get into a hospital and they tell you there's something wrong with your blood, that you have high blood pressure or low blood pressure, there is no such thing. If you have a very bad problem with your blood, it's because you're not consuming enough salt. The less salt you consume, the weaker you become. The weaker because your blood does not have enough electricity to move the nutrients necessary to feed your organs so that you continue living well in your body. Now, what you're looking at on the screen is we want to read to you what blood pressure medication actually does. In what we are going to read to you, you will never find a single statement that says that it's got something to do with your blood. The problem with blood pressure should be tackled by tackling the blood. You will never see any blood pressure medication tackle the blood, because blood pressure does not exist. It's a medical hoax used to make you to be a lab rat for the wicked pharmaceutical companies who will give you drugs to get fed on that you will never recover from. Let's read this now so you guys can see that blood pressure does not exist, because all the blood pressure medication that they give you only attacks your organs and your blood capillaries. It does not attack the blood to solve the blood pressure. So let's read now. We're not going to leave a link of what we're reading for you on the screen because we do not want this information to be taken down. And if you contact us to find out where we got this information, we are not going to tell you either. Go do your own research, but for now, listen. So we're reading what blood pressure medication does and how it works. So first of all, we look at the one that's called diuretics. It says, example here, hydrochlorothiazide and furosemide. It says this class of medications works by increasing the amount of urine your body produces. This causes the body to lose salt and water, which decreases the volume of the blood, leading to lower blood pressure. So, this medication, what does it actually do? As you can see right here, a diuretic. It removes salt and water. It's dehydrating you. It does nothing to the blood. Did you hear that? First of all, for your blood to actually function right, it needs salt and water. These diuretics remove the salt and water, therefore causing your blood to get thicker. So the question now arises, is that directly solving your blood pressure problem by coagulating your blood, removing the salt that you need if it's not excess, and water which your blood needs to survive on? This diuretic, which people take for blood pressure medication, has done nothing directly to your blood. It's only taken the salt and water out. It has done nothing to your red blood cells or your white blood cells, which should be the aim of blood pressure medication, to make you well. But is that doing this right now as you're seeing on the screen? No, it's not. It's making you lose salt and water. Decreasing the volume of the blood is actually false right here, because what it's actually doing is dehydrating you. It's not reducing the volume of the blood itself. It's just taking the water and the salt out, not the blood. Okay, let's move on to the next blood pressure medication. It says ACE inhibitors. Example, enalapril, lisinopril, ramipril. This class of medications works by blocking the body's production of a substance that tightens the blood vessels. I want you to listen to the language. It's done nothing to the blood itself to reduce the blood pressure. Either reduce it or increase it, as they say your blood pressure is off. It says here, as a result, the blood vessels become more relaxed and the pressure of the blood inside the vessels decreases. So you can see that blood pressure isn't real. All this drug does is relax your blood vessels. It hasn't had any contact with the blood directly. So they got you hooked on stuff that's only going to make you get worse, instead of the simple things that the doctors should recommend. Eat more salt. But you find out in the United States of America and the Western world and all around the world in general, they tell people to eat less salt. The less salt you eat, the more problems you're going to have. Your body does not have enough electrolyte to move the nutrients around to feed your organs, and you're slowly rotting, and you got hooked on this blood pressure medication that's going to make you weak, which has no direct effect on solving what's wrong with your blood. Rather, it's either touching the organs, the blood vessels, or taking salt and water out. That's all what the medication does, blood pressure medication. It doesn't do anything else. It either dehydrates you or either relaxes your blood vessels. It has no direct contact to your blood. Let's continue reading some other stuff. It says here, beta blockers. Example, atenolol, metoprolol, propranolol. These medications work by slowing down the heartbeat. Oh my goodness. This blood pressure medication slows down your heartbeat. Why would you need to slow down your heartbeat? Because people don't understand how the heart works. The heart does not pump blood. I have to say this again. The heart does not pump blood. The heart produces electricity from the blood that flows through it. The beating that you hear in your heart is the heart squeezing out the blood which has passed through it that it used to produce electricity. The heartbeat that you hear is your heart squeezing out the blood that it used to produce electricity for your body. Because people do not understand that blood flows in opposite direction. It goes one way and comes back down another way. The electricity, the reversal of the charge, is what makes the blood to flow in that direction, one way and the other way. So your blood is flowing like what they call alternating current. Alternating current comes from how the blood works, because it goes in one direction and comes back another direction. Why does it need to go back and forth? It goes back and forth because it has to keep moving to feed your body. If it stops moving, you are dead. So when you get a shock, all right, the charge from the machine that's used to produce charges into your heart when someone is about to go into shock or someone is dying, it's producing electricity into your blood. When that happens, the blood needs to flow backward and forward, because once it's still and it's not moving, you are dying, because the blood keeps your body alive. So the blood needs to go in one direction and back so that it can constantly feed all parts of the body with whatsoever nutrients it needs. Because if it's only flowing in one direction, you are dead. So, continuing on, all this medication, like the one that we just read to you called the beta blocker, all right, slows down your heartbeat. So when it slows down your heartbeat, what does that mean? If you now do understand that the heart only produces electricity and it does not move blood around as we have been made to believe by the false medical association. So what does it mean? It means if your heartbeat is slowing down, your heart is producing less electricity. That means you're going to get sick. Do you see what the medical system is doing to you? The wicked medical system run by Satanists, slowing down your heartbeat. All right, let's continue on. It says, these medications work by slowing down the heartbeat and decreasing the strength of each beat. This means blood is pumped through the vessels with less force, which lowers blood pressure. As you can see right here, the blood pressure medication had no direct contact with your blood. It rather decreased your heartbeat. Let's just put this in a logical explanation. If, let's say, your body has 4 liters of blood in it, all right? The 4 liters of blood still remain the same when you take this medication. It's done nothing to it. Now, from our understanding, what would it mean that blood pressure, if we were to take the literal meaning of what blood pressure means, what does it mean? It means that you have so much blood in the body, all right? Okay? It's too much for your body to handle. So the only way to reduce the pressure of anything is to make some of it to discharge. Isn't that what normal pressure means? Let's say, for example, you put air in your tire and you put too much air in it. There's so much pressure buildup. So the right way to let the pressure go is to let some of the air go. But as you can see from this beta blocker, it hasn't done anything of the sort. Because blood pressure is a myth. It doesn't exist. All what this drug did right here, as you read, is slow down your heartbeat. That means if you had 4 liters of blood in your body, you still have 4 liters in it. The blood pressure medication has done nothing directly to your blood. Let's continue reading. It says here, another one is called angiotensin 2 receptor blockers. Example, candesartan, losartan, valsartan. This group of medications work in a similar way as the ACE inhibitors, but instead of blocking the production of the blood vessel tightening substance, it stops the substance from working on the blood vessels. You can see it's all about the vessels and not the blood, because blood pressure does not exist. It says this causes the blood vessels to relax and the blood pressure to decrease. False. It's done nothing to the blood, as you just read. It did only something to the blood vessels, but not the blood directly itself. If you take a drug, let's just answer these questions logically, right? Let's say you suffer from flu. When you take flu medication, what should the flu medication do? It should attack the flu parasites and viruses and germs, right? So if you take the flu medication and it now attacks your organs, is it solving the problem? Or is it making you weaker? Is it making you to be more susceptible to the disease that it was supposed to cure in the first place? Common sense. Blood pressure is a myth, is a hoax to put you in hospital so they can give you a legal right for them saying that you need to pay medical insurance. Medical insurance from the government. Medical insurance that the government freely prints money from and produces money on a computer, keeps a system of ledgers that either deducts or credits money that they can produce freely. And yet you who work for it, they don't pay you enough. Then they make you pay medical insurances for something that you don't need. Because almost everybody who doesn't go to a hospital, at one point in time, they're going to make you go to a hospital and check your blood pressure. If you don't do anything in a year, it's the most basic requirement for your health. Go and check your blood pressure. Why? Because they know that if you're feeding right, growing your own food, cooking your own food, that you're going to be healthy. So they have nothing on you. They have no reason to make you pay medical insurances. So the only way they can make you to look right, that they taxing you with medical insurance, is because of your blood pressure. So they have to make it this big and great thing that everybody must check their blood pressure, because you could be sick. You could have low blood pressure or high blood pressure. And then they feed you all these drugs, which does not attack the blood pressure, but only attacks your blood vessels and your heart. It doesn't directly solve any of the problems by attacking what is wrong with the blood itself. When you take flu medication, it should attack the flu germs and viruses and not your organs that you need to be alive. Let's continue reading because I want you guys to see everything. It says calcium channel blockers. Example, dilitazem, nifedipine, verapamil. These medications work by relaxing the tiny muscles that surround the blood vessels. Can you see that? None of these drugs have any direct contact with your blood, with your blood vessels, as well as decreasing the speed and strength of each heartbeat. None of them do anything directly to the blood, but your blood vessels. Is that really a cure for blood pressure? When these muscles relax, the blood vessels become larger. Larger vessels means more space for the blood. It hasn't reduced the amount of blood in your body. If that was the reason for you having blood pressure, you had too much blood or you had less blood, then it should increase the blood supply. It hasn't done that. So that is all that we want you to see on this particular section. So you can actually see that blood pressure does not exist. If you have problems, you're weak, it's because you're consuming less salt, or you're sick of something else that has nothing to do with your blood pressure. And at the end of the day, this is what you have to understand. Every sickness and every disease is because of food, the right type of food. Besides the genetic abnormality of albinism, of people who have straight hair or mixed hair that's not woolly hair. Let's continue on with some more information for you to see how false the medical system is, which a lot of people have come to believe is their God. The doctors are now their gods. Whatsoever they say is what they'll do. How were your great-grandparents surviving without hospitals 400 or 500 years ago? Let's continue. So we're still on part number 5 of roll call. And before we continue, we just wanted to share some more information with you, because every time we talk, we always want to show you the facts and make you understand what we're saying. So for a long time, you probably have heard us say on this channel over and over and time again that there is no such thing as DNA. DNA does not exist. Chromosomes and all that nonsense that they tell you about DNA does not exist. All right? The false medical, wicked medical system of this world, run by the families who run the world, who practice satanism and demonism on the population, have made you to believe for a very long time that there is such a thing as DNA, because they want you to believe that they are gods, that they have answers to all the intricate questions of life, down to the very elementals that make us, because they want to be a creator. They are not. Okay? There is no such thing as DNA or chromosomes. The only thing that does exist when it comes to human being is a sperm and an egg, and that's it. So earlier on roll call part number 4, we did mention the fact that DNA does not exist. And when people say, or when the medical system says per se that you have great genetics, it just means that you have great bones, because the only thing that exists as genetics are our bones, and that's it. So we did mention that if you ask the medical system, because a lot of the things that this medical system tells you, people never ever ask them, show me the proof. They just believe. How can you be so dumb and stupid? Somebody tells you something and you just believe it without asking them to show you the facts. If you were asking all these imposters and liars and deceptionists of Satans and government agents who are paid to lie to you and deceive you, show me the facts. You go and sit down with them and look at the facts. A lot of these lies that they tell you would not be propagated. They said they've been to the moon. How can someone land on a light? If someone shines a flashlight at you, can you land on that light that's shining? But yet people believe that this so-called wicked government landed on the moon. And you guys did not follow them down there. Has any one of you gone to the moon to see this, that they landed on the moon? Have you been there? This is how you ask questions and you get answers. You don't just believe the bullshit they tell you. You tell them, I want to see it. So on part 4 of Roll Call, we did say that if you ask this wicked medical system that you want to see DNA with your own naked eyes, what they're going to tell you, they're going to tell you we have a special microscope that's used to look at DNA, and this present hospital or this present edifice that we have does not have that microscope. So we have to put in an order or put in a request so that we can get this special made electron microscope so you can go take a good look at it. But for now, we do not have such a thing. That's the answer this wicked medical system is going to give you. So we want to show you that DNA does not exist with proof. So if you had any doubt, once you hear that word DNA, you're going to call them out on the bullshit. So if you've been going to find out your genealogy status, where you're from, okay? You've been around so many places. You've gone to maybe all these genetic testing centers to find out which area of the world you're from, and they say you're 22% from here, 80% from there, and so forth. Because of your DNA, it's all false information. Those punks don't have a clue where you're from. They just made up false information from you, collected from your data. That's it. As we have said, if you're an albino, you have straight hair, all right, and you have mixed hair, you are not American. That is not where your origin of descent is from. Everybody who has straight hair today was immigrated into the countries of North America, South America, and the Caribbean in the 1800s. That's less than 219 years ago. Before that time, you existed only in Iraq and Iran, and Iran and Iraq were part of northern India way back in history. So anybody who has straight hair is either from Iran and Iraq, which was part of northern India, or Asia. That means you're Oriental, either Chinese, Japanese, Malaysian, Indonesia, Filipino, and that's it. You guys were imported or immigrated in the 1800s, about 219 years ago, from that area, when they had immigrated you also into Europe and Northern Africa before the 1800s. So before the 1800s, anybody who is an albino, has straight hair, existed only in Iran, Iraq, India, Northern Africa, and Europe before the 1800s. If I want to give you the exact timeline, it's going to be about 200 years before the 1800s. So I would put you at the 1600s. You were only existing, anybody with straight hair, in the areas of North India, which is Iran and Iraq today, India per se, Asia, that means any of the places that are the Oriental states like China, Japan, Malaysia, and all the other Asian states. You were moved or immigrated from there to Northern Africa. and Europe in the 1600s. Nobody existed as an albino in North America, South America, the Caribbean, Australia in the 1600s. In the 1800s, from around 1850, albinos were immigrated. Anybody with straight hair were immigrated now into North America, the Caribbean, South America, Australia, and also Southern Africa. So if you are an albino and you're going for a genealogy test, you are not from North America. You are not from South America. You are not Native American. You're not Native Indian. The guys that exist on all those reservations who have all the casinos, you are not from there. You are from Iran, Iraq, which was considered as northern India in ancient times, India, and Asia as an oriental state. The oriental states of China, Japan, and all the Asian states down there. That is where you're from if you have straight hair. So if you're trying to find out your genealogy, that's where you should go. Go to Iraq, India, and Asia per se. That is where you're from. You're not from Europe. You're not from Northern Africa. You're not from Saudi Arabia. You are not American. You are not Native Indian. You're not from South America. You're not from the Caribbean. You're not European. If you have straight hair, you are from Iran, Iraq, India, or Asia in the oriental states of China, Japan, and the Asian states. That is where your origin is from. So stop being lied to and believing you're anything other than that. That is your true genealogy. So getting back to the subject of DNA now, that if you were to ask these people that you want to see DNA per se with what they say, the answer they're going to tell you is that they need a special microscope to look at DNA. So the question now arises, if you need a special microscope to look at DNA, how come I am sending my DNA information for you to get my genealogy if it's not readily available, this electron microscope? So the answer these people are going to tell you when you say you want to look at DNA is that they'll tell you there's a special microscope for it. So that is what we are looking at. So as we're reading here, it says microscopy to view the DNA as well as a variety of other protein molecules. An electron microscope is used, whereas the typical light microscope is only limited to a resolution of about 0.25 The electron microscope is capable of resolutions of about 0.2 nanometers, which makes it possible to view smaller molecules. So the answer they're going to tell you is that you need to have an electron microscope to view DNA. Now, do not worry. We are still going to show you how false this information is. So we want to take a look at an electron microscope and what it sees when it puts any sort of DNA material underneath, how it sees that DNA. So let's go there now. So we're on a website now here that says DNA image with electron microscope for the first time. All right. We're going to put up a link on the screen for you to go and read this up on yourself and see how the medical system lies to you, because DNA does not exist. We're going to catch them in a lie. So let's start reading. It says here as we scroll downwards, this is the picture of the DNA that is seen under an electron microscope. I want you guys to take a good look at this picture. Does it make any sense to you at all? Remember, they'll give you such a drawing such as this, all right? See all this wiggly stuff around here? They tell you this is DNA. But under the microscope itself, this is what it sees. Does it look like the same thing? Let's just pull a picture side by side and make a comparison. So we pulled up a picture here side by side. If you get on a computer or any search engine and type out DNA, you have this thing coming up. But here is what the electron microscope the picture, the image that it saw. So how is this? Because this is the actual image it sees. How is it translated to this now? Because this is not equal to this. This is what the image of the electron microscope sees. Do you see anything here, even with the electron microscope? Is it decipherable to you? It's not. You can't even make out what you're seeing. But yet, all of a sudden, it turns to this. So is this an extra microscope that we don't know? Maybe an atomic nuclear microscope? That now makes these images to look like this now. You see how stupid and dumb you people are, because you refuse common sense and logic. You believe in the great albino myth, which is actually run on African intelligence, dumbfounding you, making you stupid. So that is why we're here to show you truth, because every time we tell you truth like this witchcraft, which has kept the world spellbound for so long, which has been run upon your minds by Satan through demons, starts falling apart. This is what truth does. So it makes so much sense when you now listen to what the Creator said. Shine your light, for great was the darkness. Darkness here means evil, for great is the evil. And when you shine a small light, which means truth, the darkness evaporates, evil runs away. The Bible was written in such a way so that we wouldn't understand the words. We wouldn't understand the actual meaning, because the Bible is literal. It is not symbolic. Everything in there is literal. That means it happened. It happened. But the people by Roman Christianity who translated the Bible for you from the original scripts, which we don't have enough time to share because people are not interested in the truth, gave you these false Bible translations. So every time we tell you the truth like this, that spell over your mind that has been cast by demons through Satanism practiced by the government on the population starts evaporating. That's why they don't like our channel, and that's why they'll shut it down, which will be more evidence that we were telling you the truth. Because they'll make up so many reasons and excuses for shutting us down. But you guys will know the truth eventually now. So let's continue reading what this electron microscope actually does, because the image that they show to us is not the image that the electron microscope actually sees, because this is totally undecipherable. You cannot decipher this. You cannot decipher this image. You can't even make sense of what you're looking at. It doesn't make any sense. But here is what they make you believe is DNA. This is what the electron microscope, which they say sees DNA. This is what it sees. Can you do anything with this? I mean, you can't even make out what the lighter shade means here and what the darker shade means here. You can't even make out this, but this is what people believe to be DNA. Wow. And now they show you this again, and they say this is DNA. As we continue reading here, it says, still on the same website, which we're going to leave a link for you on the screen, it says, it's the most famous corkscrew in history. Now an electron microscope has captured the famous Watson Crick double helix in all its glory by emerging threads of DNA resting on a silicon bed of nails. The technique will let researchers see how proteins, RNA, and other biomolecules interact with DNA. And this is the picture that the electron microscope sees. If the electron microscope sees this, what are the doctors or the researchers or the scientists actually seeing? Can you see how hilarious this is? I mean, it's very funny. Because the question now we need to ask is this. If the electron microscope sees this, for you to actually touch the DNA, that means you need some electron forks, all right, or spoons, or things tiny enough to be able to move this single molecular things that we can't even see through the electron microscope. So does there exist some sort of electron equipment that's small enough to be able to move around this DNA or separate or cut it? That's the question we need to ask now. Does there exist such a thing? How are they going to move the molecules? They'll make up a name for it, but we know. But we're just asking the question. So where are those electron equipments like fork, spoons, or, let's say tiny bits of pins that you could use to touch the single strands of molecules in DNA and move it around and do something with it? Where is it? It doesn't exist, right? Because DNA doesn't exist. You've been sold a hoax by the wicked medical system who tries to tell you everything so you do not see that there is a creator that made this world. They want you to believe they have answers to all the intricacies of life. Besides being able to pay you goodly for your jobs, besides being able to tell you the truth about what this world is really made of and what it looks like. And why wouldn't they tell you the truth? Because you do not care. You are a child of Satan, because the only thing that you're concerned with is how to live and survive. You're only concerned about your belly. You're only concerned about enjoying life. You do not know where you are and how you got here. And by the time you end up where you're going because you did not care, you're going to be saying, I wish we had listened to Tricks of the S Trade a little bit more and gone after the truth and used our whole being to find out the truth so we would know why we're here. But you do not care. So can you see how wicked the medical system is? And what I want you to get in all of this is that if these people could sit and lie to you about such a thing as DNA, that DNA does exist, then you can imagine the level of lies they have heaped upon you. I want you to understand one thing in all of this. These are all done by men. All of these lies are done by men walking with demons, walking with Satan to lie to you. So, if you have understood this, then you can imagine what the Bible says when the Creator said that the heart of man is desperately wicked. You can see what the Creator saw when you read the Bible, when he destroyed the world of Noah in the flood. He says that every man was wicked. And out of the trillions of people who survived during the time of Noah, only 8 people lived on after, including Noah. So do you understand the level of wickedness and depravity? Because if Noah told his generation back in that time that you people are wicked, they would have shouted upon Noah and told him that you are a liar. We are not wicked. How does someone become wicked? By believing in lies and by helping to propagate the lies because you're ignorant of the truth and you refuse to use your brain and think. 8 people survived in the flood of Noah among trillions. And the evidence that there were trillions is because gasoline has been around for so many years and we're still pumping it out of the ground till today, because those are the remains of those people that we drive in our cars today. As evidence, 8 people survived out of trillions. Why? Because the heart of man is desperately wicked. Why is it wicked? It does not seek the truth. It does not care about truth. All it cares about is how to survive and its guts. This is what is causing wickedness, because you're only interested in how to live day by day. You're not interested in anything else. You're busy enjoying life instead of seeking the truth and understanding your world. And this is what happened in Noah's time. And what did the Creator say in Matthew chapter 24? As it was in the days of Noah, so will it be in this age. So the question remains, how many people do you think are going to be saved this time? Because people think they are looking for truth, but they are falling for a deception because they are not going after the truth. With all your heart, your soul, your mind, your money, all they care about is how to live each day in this wicked system, which only makes you to be more wicked. Because if that's all you care about, you are wicked. As long as you're ignorant of the truth, as long as you hear the truth and you refuse to go after it, as long as you do not care about the truth, and the truth here is knowing who the Creator is and keeping His commandments, you are wicked. There is no place for ignorance. You will not be forgiven of the Creator for being ignorant, for not caring about the truth, for propagating ignorance and stupidity and lies that's being propagated by the government, by this wicked system to everybody else. You will not be forgiven. You will not be forgiven for saying, I did not know. Because you have eyes to see, ears to hear, a mouth to speak, and the ability to look for the truth. But you choose your belly and your ignorance and your ego over searching out the truth. So we're still on roll call part number 5, and the next person on our roll call is Hugo Weaving. Now, if you watch such movies as Lord of the Rings, and you watch The Matrix, and if you've watched a whole lot of other movies in which Hugo Weaving has starred in, you would never have thought that Hugo Weaving was not the gender he claimed, because it's actually a she. Now, the funny thing is this. So many people have starred with Hugo Weaving, to mention like Lawrence Fishburne, Keanu Reeves, and a whole lot of other people as cast. They have never ever mentioned the fact to you that Hugo Weaving, whom you see, is a woman pretending to be a man. As you can see from the huge, humongous curves this man has, it gives you the fact and shows you without a shadow of a doubt that Hugo Weaving here is 100% female. It's not a man in any way, shape, or form. So can you see why there's such a huge conspiracy against mankind practiced by men? Can you now start to understand why the Creator said that the heart of man is desperately wicked? Because you all are wicked as well. Because you do not care about the truth. All you care about is your little lives of pleasure. Because as we said, there is pleasure in wickedness. There's pleasure in seeing another man suffer. There's pleasure in having all and seeing another man not have any. There's pleasure in seeing the demise of someone. There's pleasure in having everything at your beck and call, and others do not have it. And this is what the human mind has been trained to be like from the day you're born, by the same families of Satan who run the whole entire world through the Vatican. Because everybody's just caring about what they got and what they want. It doesn't really matter about anything else. And if you're like that, that means you are wicked. The only reason why you're here is to seek the Creator and to love humanity. Humanity doesn't mean having love for people that you ought not to have. You can love a thief. You can love a homosexual. You can love someone who is living an abominable life. So people misplace their love for the wrong things. You can love poison because poison kills you. But having love for humanity, that means having love for righteousness, doing right to people who deserve to be done right to. So let's continue with some more pictures of Hugo Weaving, but we just want to show you first of all that he has a very long torso, which is normally very long for females, because females have a much more elongated torso than males because of childbirth. A woman carries space in her torso for children during conception. So that's why a woman will have such a long torso, a longer torso than a man of the same height. Also, a female's waist point, or where the pelvis starts for a female, is always going to be slightly below her rib cage, above her navel. That's the female pelvis all the way down to the hips. So this is what Hugo Weaving here is exhibiting. Here is where his pelvis starts, because it's actually a she, even though we say he. Here is where her pelvis starts, and all the way down, as you can see right here, up till all these huge, humongous curves. This is all pelvic area for Hugo Weaving, because Hugo Weaving is 100% female. Let's continue with some more pictures. Another picture of Hugo Weaving here, and if you were in denial, you can't deny this one. You're looking at a woman. Can you see the way that this so-called man is walking? He's walking the way a female walks, swaying from side to side in a catwalk manner, trying to balance the center of gravity because of the wider hips, which females naturally do biologically without knowing that's what they do, because that's how they're wired. Here is what Hugo Weaving is exhibiting. You can see that huge, humongous hips, and you can see the Q angle is below the crotch. Look at that. That's a woman walking. Is there any denying that? Can you see that the hips are below the crotch? The Q angle, the angle between the hip and the knee, which is very acute for females, is below the crotch. Can you see these curves? Because Hugo Weaving is 100% female. Because sex is determined by the skeletal structure. It's not determined by the genitalia. You have to understand that. If you have to build a house, you have to have a foundation. You cannot have a house without a foundation. The foundation is the skeleton. The skeleton determines what type of house you have on top of it. The foundation determines what type of house you're going to have. The skeleton determines what type of gender you are. It's not the other way around. You can't see the top of a house and just think, okay, this has to be a story building because a story building is built this way. Just by looking at the top, not seeing anything else but the top. You have to look at the foundation. How is it built? A skeleton determines the gender, not the gender, the skeleton. That's what we've been taught. All right, so let's continue on with some more pictures of Hugo Weaving. Here's another one. As you can see, right, the curves are still showing the acute Q angle is the angle between the hip and the knee, because of the wider hips. See that? All female pelvis, because Hugo Weaving is 100% female and not a man in any way. And Keanu Reeves never mentioned this to you. Lawrence Fishburne never said this. And all the major actors of Hollywood who have starred with Hugo Weaving, they never ever mentioned it as a joke in passing. Why is there such a conspiracy? Because Satan is at work deceiving the population to go to hell, who think they are worshiping the Creator, because they really do not care. They are not keeping His commandments by having only one Creator. and loving the person who's not trying to kill them, their fellow brother, not the abominable person, not a thief, not a homosexual, or anybody who's doing atrociously to humanity. Those are the people you love today. People love music artists. Don't you love music artists? But these are the same people who are trying to kill you. That means you are not worshiping the Creator, because you ought not to have love for them. You love homosexuals. You keep company with homosexuals, people who are degrading humanity, because none of us were born of homosexuality. None of us in this world was born by two homosexuals having sex. It's not even sex, because I don't call that sex. Sex does not exist between two homosexuals. That's an abomination happening. It's not sex. None of us were born of homosexuality. So that means if you love homosexuality, you are saying that you being alive, all right, in today's world is a mistake. You are spitting on your birth because you were not born of homosexuality. You are saying, I deny my existence. That means you deny your Creator. You ought not to have love for anything that's a homosexual if you truly believe in the Creator. Abomination. Keeping company with homosexuals. But most people do. They go to buy the tickets for their homosexuals. They say, oh, we just enjoy the show. We don't really care about his lifestyle. He's okay. He can do whatever he wants. We're just here to watch how he entertains us. Oh, we love that man. We love that woman. That's what's going on. You are denying your existence, but you don't know it. Can you see how wicked you are, but you really don't know you are? Let's continue with some more pictures of Hugo Weaving. Hugo Weaving again. As you can see, huge, humongous hips, childbearing hips, curves of a female, because Hugo Weaving is 100% woman and it's not a man. Don't let the face fool you. Don't let all the secondary male characteristics which she exudes fool you. It's all woman. It lies in the skeleton. Hips of a female. Q angle below the crotch, hips below the crotch, woman. Take a look at how Hugo Weaving sits. Remember the space in between the crotch of a woman. The pubic arch is wider because a child needs to come out of there. So a woman has a wider pubic arch. When a woman sits, the space in between her thighs forms a U. When a man sits, because a man has a narrow pubic arch, because men do not give birth, it's a V. So any spread of a woman's thighs is going to be wider, the space in between her thighs, because of the pubic arch. And look at the way Hugo Weaving sits. Too much space in there, because she has a wider pubic arch of a female, because Hugo Weaving is 100% woman and not a man. You can see how the thighs are round and full thighs of a woman. Need we say any more at this point in time? Can you see the female form? That from underneath the elbows of Hugo Weaving, he gets wider and wider, and the widest point is below the crotch right here. Don't worry about what's going on here. It's all fake. That's why you can't determine sex by looking at the genitalia. Hugo Weaving gets wider from underneath the shoulders all the way down, and the widest point is below the crotch, because Hugo Weaving is 100% female. Lied to you all day that he wasn't one. And the system has made you believe he wasn't one. So the next person on our gender check is Mac Miller. Mac Miller, we think, recently died, maybe last year or this year. We don't really remember why. The news told you the reason why she died, because Mac Miller is actually a she. And they forgot to tell you that Mac Miller was, as we call it, a transgender. A woman. So the shows that you've watched Mac Miller on, especially some MTV shows, never mention the fact that Mac Miller was a woman to you. And all the people who have associated with Mac Miller never mentioned that fact that Mac Miller was a woman. But here we are. Mac Miller is. First of all, you can notice that the arm angles out like a female because Mac Miller is 100% female. So all these tattoos that she has is trying to cover up the female form because they do not want you to know that Mac Miller is female. And take a look at where the crotch of Mac Miller is and the cute Q angle below it. See that? It's below the crotch. Even from this angle of this picture, you can see how acute the Q angle is because Mac Miller is 100% female, walking like a woman. You can see how long the length of the pelvis is all the way down, and the Q angle starts right around here, which is below the crotch, because Mac Miller is 100% female, was not a man in any way. And here is Mac Miller again, clear as night and day now that you can see the huge, humongous pelvis of a female. You can see how wide that she starts to get from underneath the elbows. And all this is just cover up so you do not see that it's a woman. And you can see the pelvic tilt right here. Because a woman's pelvis is never straight. It's always tilted forward, especially when you look at it from below the navel. It's always going to slant forward because that's a female trait. Because that slanting forward means your pelvis is tilted forward so a baby can stay inside the womb. And this is what Mac Miller is exhibiting. And the media who told you that Mac Miller died never mentioned this fact. As you can still see, Mac Miller starts spreading from underneath the elbows, as all females do, wider and wider down the elbows. And all the people who saw Mac Miller perform, who watched this performance of wherever he took off his shirt, never cared to look at it and see, that looks strange. Why? Because demons have been infiltrated into our minds. Over 5 million demons per human being and more can infiltrate the mind of a person. So when you're busy looking at every other thing, you can't even see what's in front of you. And why is that? Why do demons infiltrate the minds of people? Because they have refused the love of the Creator. They have refused the Creator. So the Creator seeks to destroy you. He wants to make sure that you go to hell because you hate him. So he allows Satan to bring him as many demons as he possibly can, and wicked men to do more wickedly to send you to hell, definitely, because you hate the Creator. You hate his people. Especially those people today who say they are of Israel when they are not. From the albino Jews in Palestine to the Hebrew Israelites in the Americas and everybody else who says they are Jews. They have stolen the identity of the real people of the Creator, whom the Creator spoke through. So their punishment will be far more greater and worse for lying and deceiving the whole world when you know that you are not who you claim to be. Same with these transgenders. Mac Miller, as you can see right here, can you see the arms? It's following the contours of the body. Remember, a woman's arms are never straight. It's always going to be shaped in an hourglass manner. And this is what Mac Miller is exhibiting right here, because Mac Miller is 100% female. Was never a man in any way likewise. And nobody told you this. And you do not care. Why do you not care? Because you are just as wicked as they are. Because all what you're interested is you think you know some stuff. Meanwhile, you don't know nothing. Just like the people that existed in the flood of Noah, who thought that they were righteous. Meanwhile, they were committing abominations. Same here right now. For the Creator said, as in the days of Noah, so would it be in these last days. People are going to be desperately wicked and thinking that they are doing righteous. And here is Mac Miller with a girl. Happens to be, I think her name should be Naomi Leisure Hore. That's her name. used to be the ex-girlfriend of Mac Miller. And she never one day mentioned the fact that she was a lesbian partying around with another lesbian in Mac Miller. Look at Mac Miller's arms, clear as night as day. Look at Mac Miller's arms, right? Following the contours of the body, following the female form, the hourglass form that a female has. Can you see this with the arm of this woman also? It angles out. A woman's arm is never straight because it's following the contours of the body. Can you see how it angles here? Angles inside, because these are two women. And look at the humongous curves of Mac Miller. A Q angle below the crotch, just like this woman right here. Q angle below the crotch. You can see that she spreads wider from underneath her elbow. She gets wider, and this is all pelvis. And here is the hips below the crotch. Q angle below the crotch. Same with Mac Miller, because these are two females. And Naomi here never said that Mac Miller was a woman. What a deception. Here is Mac Miller with Ariana Grande. A lot of people love Ariana Grande's music. They love wickedness, because you are not supposed to be keeping company with homosexuals. Can you see how you will be wicked and not know that you are wicked? Because you do not care about the Creator. So you feed your love on all these people and they become your gods. You believe in a Creator, or you believe in God, but you have other gods that you believe in and that you love, and you keep company with that you don't know. Can you see how so many few are going to be saved in this era? As in the days of Noah, so will it be again at the end of time, at the conclusion of all things. You better start waking up and start going for the truth and understanding real history, because the reason why we do not understand our world is because we do not know its real history. The history, the literal account, is given in the Bible, but it's been muddled up because Roman Christianity translated that Bible that you read today. For example, it says that there is an Old and there is a New Testament. There is no such thing. There is no Old and New Testament. All you had was a testament and a testament fulfilled. There's no Old and New Testament. People don't even know what a testament means, because you do not care about the truth. How are you going to know about the Creator if you do not care about the truth? How are you going to know about the Creator if you don't know real history? And here we are trying to make you understand. And people do not understand how we know what we know, because the only people who could preserve real history were people who were of the lineage that the person that's called Moses came from. It was the only lineage that the Creator spoke through in the nation of Israel. And how do we know all this information? Because we do not only know the people of that lineage, we know the whole tribe, the real people of Israel, who still exist, who make up more than 50% of the world population, but yet they remain unknown to themselves. Their identity is concealed even to them. Why? Because the Creator said it would happen so. But a few of them, the leadership of this world, know who they are. The governments of this world know who they are. They all know who they are. And a few of the leadership of the real children of Israel, the real people of Israel, whose name is not even Israel, it was misconstrued for them. They know who they are also, the leadership. The next person on our roll call is by the name of Oliver Rousteing. If we said the name right, if I said the name right back there. Oliver Rousteing has been a major designer for most of the fashion houses around the world. He's been, I think, we'll call her he for now, but it's actually she. He's been in, I think, like Gucci, is it Dolce & Gabbana? We're not sure. As well as Louis Vuitton and so many other fashion labels which he has worked for as maybe chief designer, so on and so forth. A lot of personalities have met with Oliver Rousteing, but they have never ever remotely mentioned the fact that Oliver Rousteing was a transgender. So let's take a look and see what we find. As you can see right here, the way Oliver Rousteing is walking like a woman, a catwalk. The feet are directly in front of one another in a catwalk because the hips of a female are wider. In order to balance out the center of gravity, the feet need to do two things. They need to come inwards into the center of gravity and forward at the same time to balance that out. And this is what Oliver Rousteing is exhibiting, walking in a catwalk manner as a woman usually does. And as you can see right here, the Q angle of this walk is very acute. Oliver Rousteing has hips below the crotch. The hips are not above, as you can see from underneath the elbows here, that she starts getting wider and wider, and the widest point right here is below the crotch, and the acute Q angle follows after. The angle between the hip and the knee, which is very acute for females, because Oliver Rousteing here is 100% female. Been parading around as a man, lying to you. And all the people that she's associated with never one day told you. The fashion houses which hired her, right, never one day told you that this was a woman pretending to be a man. So as you can see with Oliver Rousteing here, the arms, as it should naturally do for a woman, are following the contours of the body. Following the contours of the body. And the Q angle is the angle between the hip and the knee. And the widest point in this body is below the crotch, an acute Q angle of curves, because Oliver Rousteing is 100% woman and not a man in any way. Here's Oliver Rousteing again, showing you where the pelvis of this woman starts, which is slightly below her rib cage. And all this is pelvic area, the long butt of a female that starts high above her navel. This is what Oliver Rousteing is exhibiting, with an arch in the back, because Oliver Rousteing is 100% female. Same thing again. Can you see the hourglass figure and the acute Q angle that's below the crotch and the curves? Because Oliver Rousteing is 100% female. Been lying to you, it's male. No, it's not. It's a woman. Some other pictures. Another picture of Oliver Rousteing, same thing happening again. Arms are following the contours of the body. You can't even see space between those armpits or the torso and the exterior of this particular stage that she is on, because Oliver Rousteing is 100% female. Take a look at that. See that? Q angle, hips below the crotch, acute Q angle, because Oliver Rousteing is 100% female. Here is Oliver Rousteing again, clear as night and day. Can you see those arms following the contours of the body? Can you see the walk? Can you see the Q angle? Even with the specially made clothing, which is meant to lie to you, by making these hipsters to have a very short crotch line. So it looks like the crotch is right around here when it's up here, because Oliver Rousteing is trying to lie to you that he's male when he's actually a woman. All right. Now, here is pictures of Jessica Alba and Justin Timberlake, one of your favorite music artists. They never mention the fact that Oliver Rousteing, which they are parlaying with, is actually female. They never mentioned it. Take a good look. They never mentioned it. And you guys are loving liars and deceivers, feeding them with all your love, and you think that you love the Creator. You see how misplaced and misguided we are? Because the Creator says, you shall have no other creator. You shall not love anybody else above him. Why is that the case? Because the very breath of life that you have, he gave it to you. It is not yours. You're living on someone's borrowed life, and you're not paying any obedience or obeisance to it. And here is Oliver Rustin sitting in a chair. As usual, when a woman sits, the hips need space in that chair. As you can see, this man is spreading wider because she's 100% female. And look at all that thigh exposure. Sitting like a woman because Oliver Rustin is female. Sitting in the exact same position with the wide hips of this female on the left. As you can see, spreading wider in the chair. Same is Oliver Rustin doing here because he's 100% female. Look at that. Same picture again. Wider in the chair like the female over here. Wider in the chair. Hips giving space. Hips taking space because Oliver Rustin is 100% female. And here is Oliver Rustin with who? Kanye. The born again Christian. Goodness gracious. The person who says that he's born again now. And a lot of dummies actually believe. The families who run the world and run the whole entire system of governance are Satanists. And they are the greatest enemies of the Creator. So every now and then, they bring up celebrities who are Satanists themselves. For example, Prince. Prince was a known homosexual who later on claimed that he was born again and was now a Jehovah's Witness. So every now and then, the government pulls this prank on the believers because they want you to believe that Christianity is not a false religion. So that those who are actually seeking the Creator fall into this deception. And they fall into it because people like Kanye West here, who now claims that he's born again, will only sell the deception that Christianity is really real. Meanwhile, soaking a lot of people who are genuinely seeking for truth, for the Creator, and to keep His commandments, which is the only requirement necessary for you to get to know the Creator. It's not about serving the Creator and serving people. It's all about keeping His commandment. Because when you keep His commandment, it does show that you know the Creator. But most people don't do that. And what is the commandment all about? You shall do no wickedness to humanity. That's all what it is, including your own self. First of all, people, the word born again never existed in Scripture. It was imputed by Roman Christianity. The only place that you find the word born again is in the book of John, in the so-called New Testament, and in the book of Peter. They say that the Creator said, you shall be born again. The Creator never said such a thing. Because why? The Creator is literal in everything He says. He doesn't speak symbolically as you've been made to believe. If He ever required for anybody to be born again, He would have meant that. He would have meant that you should go back into your mother's womb and come out again. But He never said so, because it was written in. It was the new terminology for the false priests of Christianity to use and deceive people. But you guys don't want to know that history, so you can now understand fully that there's something very wrong with the translations of the Bible that you are reading in whatsoever format, because it was all invented by Roman Christianity. Kanye West here, if he was truly following the tenets of Christianity, of saying that he's born again, he should have told you, I've been parlaying with so many homosexuals, including Beyonce, that Beyonce is a man. But he has never said the facts. because it's all false pretense. Kanye West is connected to the affiliates, to the families who run this world. But regardless, Kanye West should have told you here that Olivia Rustin, who's walking like his wife here, and Kim Kardashian, that they are both females, as you can tell from the walk, both leaning the weight of their body into the feet that is in front of them, swinging the arms that are hugging the curves of the body, because these are two females. Kanye West did not tell you that Olivia Rustin was one. Did he? No, he did not. So next on our presidential check is the Prime Minister of Britain during the Second World War, and the name is Winston Churchill. Even though it's not an American president, but we just wanted to throw this one in there to show you that it's a worldwide conspiracy. Now, the Second World War happened during, let's say, 1945. This was when Winston Churchill was Prime Minister of Great Britain. Now, I want you guys to notice how Winston Churchill works. Can you see the way he walks? He walks like a woman, putting all the weight of the body into the leg that's in front of it in a catwalk manner. Why? Because Winston Churchill is 100% woman, as you can see by the humongous curves in the hips in the midsection that she possesses, because it's actually a she. There's an arch in the back because Winston Churchill is 100% female. So this stuff has been happening all around the world, that people in power are not the gender that they claim. And these are the societies, the people that you dumb idiots are supposed to be looking up onto as your standard for being upright men. No man is a standard of this world. So Winston Churchill is the standard that so many people are supposed to look up to. Nobody was supposed to be a standard in this world except the Creator. Well, we are just trying to show you how this conspiracy works. We want you to understand your world and open your eyes and seek the Creator. His name is not Jesus. His name is not Yeshua. His name is not Yahweh. His name is not Yehoshua. His name is not Jah. His name is not the Most High. His name is not Lord. His name is not God. But seek the Creator. Here's another picture of Winston Churchill, as you can see, clear as night and day. Where does Winston Churchill have his hands on? The female West Point, which is usually above the navel, because from a woman's navel below down is all pelvic area, and it starts just slightly above the rib cage. So you can see right here, this is where the rib cage ends, and right below that is all pelvic area all the way down to the hips. And this is Winston Churchill's hips, an acute Q angle below the crotch. Don't worry about what's going on here, that's all fabricated, because this is all meant to deceive you that it's a man when it's actually a woman. Can you see now? Winston Churchill, the Prime Minister of Great Britain during the Second World War, the person who led the Allied armies with the United States against Hitler, a fabricated war. Do you really want to know what the war was all about? Or you want to believe the fake histories they tell you in popular culture as truth? You're not interested, because all you care about is what you see and the little pleasures you get from all the wickedness that prevails, and the survival of your gut and your belly, and enjoying life instead of seeking truth. Despicable human beings today, because they don't care about anything else. All they care about is themselves. And because once you care about, and all you care about is yourself, you will be desperately wicked to another human being. This is why wickedness prevails at work. This is why wickedness prevails in the system, because all we think about is we're just doing a job. That's what most people say. I'm just doing my job. And that means you are desperately wicked. And the hottest part of hell and the lake of fire is going to be waiting for you. Now, people, I have to tell you this. A lot of people don't know this. Satan is not going to be in the hottest part of fire or the lake of fire at the end of time. You all who have been led astray, who are his children, will be. He will not be in the hottest part of the lake of fire. Where will Satan be? Satan will be displayed around the world, in the world that will come when the Creator comes, for us to see, so that people will be asking him questions. So why did you really do this? Why did you go against the Creator? Why did you kill and slaughter and impoverish people in this world? He will be on display, and every now and then he will be sent to hell, and then he will be displayed. That is what's going to happen. So every time he's on display, people are going to see him and ask questions, because that is what the Creator said. He said at the end of time in the book of Genesis, dust will you eat, and you will crawl on your hands and knees. Why will he crawl on his hands and knees? Because he will be on display from time to time for people who will live to actually see and ask him, why did you have to do this? And he will have no answer. And then he will be sent back to hell. All right. And here is the same picture, but we wanted you to see it in color, in the way Winston Churchill works, so you can actually see that it's a woman, because he's leaning all the weight of the body into the leg that's in front of it. Shows that he is 100% female. The Prime Minister of Great Britain. And did the Queen of England remotely mention this fact to you? Did Prince Charles, who's actually a woman, mention this fact to you too? Did any of the so-called fake princesses, because they are not really British, they are all Iraqi, Iranians, or Indians, imposters sitting on the throne? And who do you think put them there? The families that run the world. And who are these families? Do you really want to know? Our next presidential check happens to be Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon was a president during the time that the gold standard was removed and the Federal Reserve no longer had dollar to gold convertibility, which was the order that all currencies should be in. And why did the families who run the world take the world off of the gold standard? You really want to know? I'm sure you do not want to know, because if you wanted to know, you would have known it by now. But you guys are not interested, so we're not here to give you any freebies. And there was a reason why the families who run the world took the world off of the gold standard. It's not of what because they tell you. It's because of something else that's very, 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 very interesting. But you guys don't really want to know. So we're not interested in telling you right here. So let's continue and tell you what's going on with Richard Nixon here. As you can see, Richard Nixon has an hourglass figure of a female in his hips. Did you notice that? Let's blow this up as much as we can so you guys can see that. Can you see that? Huge, humongous hips of a female. Hourglass figure. Because Richard Nixon is 100% female. The President of the United States. So far, we have showed you not one, not two, not three, but up to 4 or 5 presidential figures of the great country of America, the scam and scum of the earth, the leaders of immorality and corruption. So, as you can see right here, what does that tell you? Now, America always likes telling you that all the countries of the world are corrupt and that they are the standard. But that's all very false. Are all the countries of the world corrupt? Yes, they are run by Satan. Is America the standard of not being corrupt? No, it is more corrupt than all the other countries that it says that it's corrupt. Why is America not seen to be the corrupt nation? Because the families who run the world, who run the other governments who are also corrupt, have made America to be the standard that every citizen of the world should look up to, so that they become corrupt and immoral by losing their culture, their tradition, their language for a false ideology or fantasy of a better life, which America does not have. 98% of the American population cannot pay their rent. They cannot pay their rent. 98% cannot pay their rent. If they are paying their rent, they have 2 or 3 or 4 or more people in the household to make that happen. They live and have roommates. They can't even afford to have a house all to themselves. That is the truth. That is the statistics that they don't tell you when you're watching your Hollywood movies or your news shows, because it's a false reality. America is the most corrupt, immoral country in the world, and its citizens are as well, because they believe in this false fantasy of America, which is told to them day and night by their figures such as Richard Nixon, who are females posturing around as males. The reason why the world and other people around the world do not see how corrupt America is because you have all been hoodwinked by the governments who run your country to believe in the American standard. And also because America is the most organized and efficient, corrupt nation that's ever existed in this world. The United States of America. So if you're thinking that you want to be an American citizen, it means that you want to be corrupt. If you've ever liked anything about America, it means that you love corruption and wickedness, because this is what the population practices. The general American population is very heartless, unsympathetic, and wicked. Whatever goodness that you see that's painted through the American media or on TV, on social media, is painted by the immorality and wickedness of the people, in which they have believed that they are not. They are not sensitive to goodness. They are sensitive to wickedness, to law and wicked orders. Because everyone is only interested in their survival, in their bellies, because the system has made them to be so. If you happen to be telling the truth in America, you will be out of a job. You will be homeless on the street. You will have no place to live. Because as we are telling people the truth, which the government tells us to be upstanding citizens, our videos are going to be taken off YouTube, because we told you the truth, which the government demands that we should be. You can see how twisted the whole thing is. YouTube will take the video down because YouTube is owned by the government under false pretenses, besides the fact that we are telling the public the truth. That such a person as Richard Nixon is actually a woman and was imputed by the White House, by the government, by the system, by the families who run the world through the Vatican. So here is another picture of Richard Nixon. As you can see right here, Richard Nixon's arms follows the contours of the body. You see that? It follows the curves of the body, because Richard Nixon is 100% female. You can see that she starts spreading wider from underneath the elbows. See how wide and humongous this midsection is? Because it's a woman with an acute Q angle that starts right here, because this is where Richard Nixon's crotch is, as you can see from the boxers that she's wearing. The acute Q angle starts right there, following the female hourglass figure because Richard Nixon is 100% female. A United States president, female. And yet, America is touted to be the upstanding country that all men should look unto. They go and invent wars. Are those wars really for the betterment of society, or it's pushing an agenda, social engineering on the world, which you're going to find out what's really going on as we keep moving on in the roll call series? All right, let's continue to another picture. As you can see right here, same thing again. Huge, humongous hips of Richard Nixon. Q angles below the crotch, because Richard Nixon is 100% female, was never a man in any way, a United States president. And here is Richard Nixon, again, with all the members of staff of the White House, and none of them ever mentioned the fact that this man's arms follows the contours of the body, that he has an hourglass figure with an acute Q angle below the crotch, because Richard Nixon is 100% female, a United States president, as you can see right here. Nobody ever mentioned this to you. You can still see right here again, look at that. Q angle, wide hips spreading out, the same hips as we showed you with John F. Kennedy playing golf. Jutting out hips of a female that starts below the crotch, as you can see, wide hips, acute Q angle below the crotch. Even the bogus bad clothing that she's wearing can hide that female form, because Richard Nixon is 100% female.